On tap, Bourbon Street Imperial Stout.
Better beer authority, better beer.
Hi, I'm Richard Hartogs, and this is your Better Beer Authority. Today we're doing a barrel-aged beer from Abita Brewing Company from Abita Springs, Louisiana, about 30 miles north of Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Abita is one of the older craft breweries in the country from 1986. They brew 151,000 barrels of beer and 9,000 barrels of their famous root beer. The guys know I just came back from a San Diego beercation, so their minds may be thinking that I'm going to do a San Diego beer. But in the spirit of Mardi Gras, which is this coming week, I chose Bourbon Street Imperial Stout, aged in Buffalo Trace barrels. Let the blind taste test begin. Good morning, Dave.
Morning.
Can you tell us what the nose of the beer is like? What aromas are you getting out of it?
So I'm getting a lot of sweetness out of it. So like a toffee, caramel sweetness. It's very, very pleasant. It's a good smell. And I don't know if you want. For the kind of beer that I thought this was, I thought it would be, for that kind of smell, I think maybe it would be a little bit thicker on the mouthfeel, but it's not. It's actually very thin.
Getting a thin mouthfeel.
Very thin mouthfeel, and I'm swirling around a little bit, and the head, the bubbles just kind of like dissipate easily. So,
do you think that's a correlation between a thin beer and the way, the lack of legs on the beer?
Yeah, usually if I see a thin, for sweet beer that I'm smelling right now, I'm thinking, no, it's gonna be like a thicker beer, and something that the lacing would stay there a little bit longer, but it's not. It just goes away. Right. So it's a very surprising beer for what I think it might be.
Awesome, Adam. Why don't you break down the flavor profile as best you can?
So definitely a stout. It seems a little lighter, so I wouldn't think that this has like a high alcohol content. It doesn't seem like it's maybe barrel aged or anything like that. Yeah, it's on the lighter side, but definitely some chocolate right off the bat.
Yeah,
I could sense that. Yeah, that's a great smell. I actually really like the smell. I know that's more of a disgusting, but as far as
do you think if it was a little more had more body, you think you'd be able to pull out more flavors?
I think so. Yeah, it's more on the lighter side, I would say. This seemed like a really heavy beer, a typical stout.
Right.
Maybe more of a heavy stout. It's not like a really heavyweight.
Okay.
More of on the lighter side. Yeah. Maybe a little milk stout, want
I'm not going to allude to anything yet.
Okay.
But,
so let's thought it'd be worth it to just
want to kind of
get that
tell everyone what you're tasting, but if that's what you feel. Mark, why don't you tell us about the first impressions of this beer from about 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago to how it is now?
So the first taste that I had, I actually got what I thought were some kind of adjunct, almost like barrel character. I thought there was some coconut, some toffee, vanilla. And then when I had the first sip, it was thinner than I would have expected for a barrel-aged stout. So I'm wondering if there's an adjunct component, whether it be lactose or whether it be some additions of chocolate or something along those lines. So those are my first impressions of the beer. As I'm drinking more, I'm getting less of that. And usually, when I've had beers, it's oftentimes as the barrel-aged beers and warm up, you get more complexity. It's interesting. I'm kind of getting, in some ways, less complexity, and I think that it maybe relates to the mouthfeel and potentially lower alcohol content.
Do you think this is barrel-aged?
No.
What I do feel is I get a smokiness out of it, so I'm wondering if there's any like smoked malt involved, but that's just speculation.
Right.
Maybe cocoa nibs?
Potentially, yeah. But I've guessed wrong twice with barrel aging.
Right.
And now I'm saying it's not barrel aged, and I'm probably right. So.
Okay.
I
So
just feel like it's not really boozy. So typically like it's bourbon barrel aged.
You know what? I'm
booziness
going
comes out.
to ask you the question I was going to ask Kim and switch it around. What do you think the ABV is?
Let's go.
I think you dug yourself in a hole here.
7%.
7%?
7%.
What's your rating on this beer?
Right now it's a 7.
All right,
Yeah.
7%.
So I would definitely recommend it. Yeah,
Yeah.
7-7. We're going 7-7.
All right, let's go to Dr. Schutz here. What's missing from this beer? Obviously, it sounds like there's some body missing from it, or it's just thinner than what the style is supposed to be.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. If there was such a thing as a milk porter or like an Imperial milk porter, then I would say there's nothing missing because this beer would really fit that ticket. But yeah, it's just a little bit of body is what I would expect, from what I'm getting here. But honestly, the beer is just good enough as it is. It's a very odd combination, I guess, because I wasn't expecting this thinness out of it. Just a little bit more body, and is what I would want from it. That's pretty much it. The only thing that's missing from it.
What's your rating?
I'm gonna bump this up to a 9.
Oh wow!
I'm really enjoying this. I mean, I'm sitting here enjoying this a lot, and I know he gave it a 7% ABV, but this is making me a little bit too happy. So I think it might be close to an 8-9% ABV. And
Right.
I think that maybe just the yeast had a lot of extra sugar, and I don't know what they do to keep the mouthfeel so thin, but it's probably 8-9%, I think.
Other reviews I've seen for this beer, that's been the knock on it, is that it's a thin beer. But I don't know I don't know if that's a problem or just people expect a thick, heavy beer.
I would expect this beer to maybe have this is maybe the flagship version from the brewery, and then maybe later on it releases a more of a complex version of it with more of ingredients and maybe just to bump it up, more of a
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, just like what Mark was saying, he was saying, hey, I thought this was like a bourbon barrel age, but it's not. But you do get some characteristics of it. But,
Yeah.
we're being fooled because the thing is so freaking thin for what it is.
Right. Especially at 10%.
Oh,
So Mark, now that you know,
I would have guessed 5%.
wow. so maybe that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Give us your rating and tell us something you like about this beer. If you like it.
Yeah, no, it's I'm gonna give it a 7.
Actually,
Which
you
I'm,
triggered that quite
yeah,
fast.
yeah. I mean,
that's
Go
a 7
figure.
for him. He ranks it
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
That's a 7.
Right.
yeah. No, I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm very surprised to hear that it's 10%. So one things that I really like about it, I think probably the highlight for me is the nose. It's pretty complex flavor profile on the nose, with that kind of coconut, potentially vanilla. So those are the things that I like. I think, again, the mouthfeel being a little bit thin. And I think when you see a beer like this, and I think maybe what I've seen of bourbon barrel aged stouts, they tend to have a darker, maybe more like a khaki head. And this kind of has a more whitish head, and there's not much alcohol legs. So that's why I'm really surprised. But it could be in this Imperial porter kind of,
All right. Well, let me do the reveal. I'll tell you right now, it's aged in Buffalo Trace barrels for 8 weeks. After it's cold aged, we'll get into that. Yeah. So we're drinking Bourbon Street Imperial Stout from Abita.
Oh,
nice.
It's aged 100% in the barrels, so it's not 50% aged somewhere, whatever. So there it is.
wow.
I've seen this beer before.
Wow.
Thoughts?
definitely
Yeah.
stronger.
I'm very surprised, actually.
Blindsided me, absolutely.
I was surprised when I had this beer the first time because you think of Abita, you're going to think of a lot of craft beer drinkers never kind of mention them in the conversation. They're a craft brewery from 1986. They're old, and they're good. They're good. Purple Haze, a lot of
Purple
people
Haze,
like.
Turbo Dog.
Turbo Dog.
Yeah.
I love the amber when I'm eating Cajun crawfish.
One of the funny things is that my wife actually loves their ginger beer or root beer. So the Abita root beer is
It's funny. So they make 151,000 barrels of beer, and 9,000 barrels is the root beer.
yeah.
Let's go back to Mark. So they say that the beer is cold aged for 6 weeks before they put it into the bourbon barrels for 8 weeks. Any idea what that is?
So it sounds to me like they're cold crashing it. And what I think that usually the reason why you do this on a homebrew scale and potentially on a commercial scale is to really drop out the yeast, improve the clarity. You know, typically with a lot of IPAs, it's something you want to do to kind of improve clarity. I don't know what this would add to the flavor profile of other than kind of dropping out things that you don't want in the finished product. So
Right.
I've never heard that term applied to.
I haven't
Imperial
either,
Stout.
and I thought you were the right person to
Yeah,
ask, because you homebrew a hell of a lot more than the rest of us. So, Adam, give me your final thoughts on this beer.
Oh, I thought for a bourbon barrel beer, I thought it'd just be a little more, just have a little more body. Like everyone here was pretty much, I thought it was a little light, but maybe I've grown a little tolerance maybe for a little tolerance for the heavier stuff. But the 10% really threw me off. I can't believe it's 10%. Wow.
Yeah,
So it's definitely a strong beer.
that could be a thing, because I think there's some beers where people are like, oh, it's too boozy on some of these bourbon barrel aged beers.
Yeah.
And now I used to think that, and I'm like, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
I don't think so. So maybe
Yeah.
it's the way their palates are transitioning. Dave, last question for you: is this a beer you're surprised to see from Abita?
It is, and the reason being because I just like you mentioned, Purple Haze and Turbo Dog, and maybe the strawberry, like Harvest Strawberry. I don't know the name of it exactly.
I think that's it.
Yes,
Strawberry Harvest
Strawberry
Lager.
Harvest Lager is probably one of the ones that you're well known. And we also talked about the root beer. I mean, the root beer is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. But beyond that, I've never gone and said, "Hey, let me get a Vita today." That's never been in my vernacular until maybe today. I mean, I can definitely see myself picking this up again if I see it available. I mean, it's everything you want in a beer.
Decent price point.
That's another thing. Their beers are really well priced. So, and I mean, this is pretty good.
$11.99 or
It's about $10.99.
okay.
So,
Pretty good.
so the rumor was, everyone kept saying it was Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels, which everyone goes nuts over when anything's aged in that. But the brewery version is Pappy Van Winkle. It was limited. These are Buffalo Trace, which is still really good bourbon. Bourbon Street Imperial Stout from Abita Brewing Company gets a 7.7 on the BBA scale. Have you had this beer before? Do you think it's too thin? Is there a problem with it being too thin? Let us know in the comment section. Also, tell us what your favorite barrel-aged stouts are. I'm Richard Hartogs, and this is the Better Beer Authority. You son of a bitch!
Better Beer Authority.